There is usually one memory that stays. You were standing near the door after a friend's birthday dinner. She laughed at your story. She asked about your work. When everyone began looking for their jackets, she said your name and told you it was nice meeting you. Nothing dramatic happened, but years later, you can still see the room. The biggest false positive men fall for is not a smile. It is mistaking the feeling of being seen for proof that you were being chosen. 10. The night that stayed. At the table, she had turned toward you when you spoke. Not in a way anyone else would notice, just enough that you did. She asked what you liked about your work. You gave the easy answer first. Then she waited, and you found yourself giving the honest one. Later, somebody made a joke. She looked at you while she laughed. That is the version of the night your memory keeps, not the whole dinner. The small part where the noise seemed to fall away and someone appeared to understand more than she was expected to. A moment like that can feel private, even when it happened in a crowded room. 9. What you carried home. By the time you reach your car, the evening has already become simpler. There was the question, the laugh, the way she said your name at the door. You replay each one as if it might contain an answer. Maybe you wonder whether you should have stayed a little longer. Maybe you wonder whether she waited for something from you that never came. This is what a warm moment does. It gives the mind a few bright pieces, then leaves the rest in shadow. And when the rest is missing, hope is very good at filling it in. The memory does not feel invented. It feels unfinished. 8. Why it felt so rare. A week later, you are waiting at an airport gate. The woman beside you asks whether your flight has been delayed too. She listens when you answer. For 20 minutes, the two of you talk as if you have known each other longer than you have. Then boarding begins. She smiles, wishes you a good flight, and disappears into another line. That kind of conversation can stay with a man for years, not because he is foolish, because being listened to without interruption is rarer than people admit. Sometimes the feeling that she was interested is really the feeling that, for a moment, you were not invisible. It arrived without a performance or a reason to impress anyone. 7. The story after the scene. Later that night, the airport conversation begins changing shape. Her question becomes curiosity. Her attention becomes attraction. Her goodbye becomes a possibility you somehow let pass. Nothing in the memory says this directly, but the mind does not like an open ending. It would rather turn a brief connection into a story than leave it as a beautiful thing that happened once. That is why false positives can feel so convincing. They do not begin with a lie. They begin with a real moment, then quietly ask it to carry more than it ever said. That is why it can feel like evidence long after the scene is gone. 6. The camera turns. Now go back to the birthday dinner, not to your end of the table, to the other end. Before she spoke to you, she spent 10 minutes listening to your friend's quiet cousin talk about a new job. She remembered the waiter's name. Near the end of the night, she crossed the room to make sure an older guest had a ride home. You did not see most of it. You were inside the moment she was having with you. And that is the biggest false positive men fall for. It is not believing she liked you. It is believing you were the only one she made feel that way. 5. What you were really remembering. You were not only remembering her, you were remembering yourself around her. The version of you who spoke more openly. The version of you who felt interesting without trying to prove anything. The version of you who was listened to. That feeling can attach itself to a person so strongly that years later, she seems to carry all of it. But sometimes she did not create the feeling. She simply made enough room for it to appear. That does not make the memory smaller, it makes it more honest. The false positive was never that the moment mattered. It was thinking the meaning belonged entirely to her. 4. When warmth becomes direction. A month later, you see someone at another gathering. She is warm with the whole room. You notice that first, but when people begin leaving, she comes back to the conversation you had last time. She asks how your brother's move went. She does not need an excuse. Nobody has asked her to remember. Days later, she sends a message about the same thing. That is different. Not because it is more dramatic, because the warmth has narrowed. It has begun to move toward you even when the room is no longer arranging the moment for both of you. Real interest may still be quiet, but it usually becomes more specific with time. 3. The difference you can feel later. At a bookstore, you run into her by accident. She could smile and keep walking. Instead, she stops. She asks about the last thing you discussed. She stays long enough for the conversation to become real again. No party is making anyone polite. No shared table is forcing closeness. No goodbye is giving either person a final line to say. This is why the difference is easier to see afterward. Warmth can happen anywhere. Interest keeps finding its way back when the setting stops helping it. Not every return means attraction, but a return gives the memory another scene. And another scene is where the truth begins to take shape. 2. The memory worth replaying. Think about the person who still crosses your mind. Do not begin with the brightest moment. Remember the whole room. How did she speak to other people? Did her attention become more focused after the first conversation? Did it return when there was no event, no audience, and no easy reason to keep being kind? Looking again may change the memory. Maybe she was simply warm. Maybe she was quietly trying to stay close. Either answer can be gentler than carrying one small moment for years and asking it to solve everything. The truth was rarely hidden inside the smile. It was in what happened when the smile was over. 1. The quiet truth. Being treated warmly is not nothing. A real conversation is not nothing. A remembered name is not nothing. A night that made you feel visible is not nothing. Maybe she was interested. Maybe she was simply the kind of person who gave other people the feeling of being seen. The second possibility does not make the memory false. It gives it its proper shape. Sometimes a kind moment deserves to be remembered as kindness. And maybe that is what men are really looking for when they revisit the past. Not proof that they missed a chance, just a clearer way to understand why one small moment never left them. For a deeper look at the quieter patterns that tend to return, we put together a guide called 25 Forbidden Signals She's Into You. The link is in the description.